Hi everyone. Yeah, nice to see everyone at home staying safe. I just wanted to read a few passages out from elementals, and I know that some of us hear and see elementals sometimes, or otherwise known as sometimes known as fairies or little people or things like that. So anyway, I wanted to read out from this book that I have called Enchantment of the Fairy Realm, Communications with Nature, Spirits and Elementals. Just a few passages about what elementals are about, because sometimes we can hear them in songs, sometimes we can just pick up different brainwaves, and sometimes they can send us different messages in dreams and things like that. Well, that's how I understand it. So anyway, we'll move on to the chapter, and I'll read you some from this book. The forces of nature are often classified according to one of four kinds of expression: earth, water, air, and fire. Operating at the most primal level with these expressions of force in the natural world are beings called elementals. Those working with the force of earth in the natural world are called gnomes. Those working with water forces are undines, and those working with air are called sylphs, and those working with the expressions of fires are called salamanders. There is often a confusion regarding the difference between elementals and other nature spirits. The one more commonly called elves and fairies. Most people link them together as either nature spirits or as elementals, but there is a difference. They are all of the same hierarchy, but they serve different functions. Those of fairies and elf levels are more likely to display personality, while elementals will display a more general characteristics. For example, in one family there may be a particular characteristic or trait that all members of the family have. This may be a tendency to boldness, thinness, a sharp nose, blonde hair, etc. Each person in that family, though, will display a unique personality despite the common characteristics. Elementals are building blocks of nature. They are close to being true energy and true consciousness. So when we hear a song, we can pick up a particular message from our perspective, and it's almost as though something is communicating to us, and it changes. The meanings of the songs change every time we hear them, same as an artwork or just generally watching the news or whatever. You can hear different things in it each time, and it's interesting to become aware of that, because as you become aware of it, you can write down your observations and your impressions of what things are communicating with you. So I know that in Celtic cultures, they call these energy fields elementals. Some people call them extraterrestrial entities, and they're just generally brainwaves. So it's really nonplussed. There really isn't anything crazy about that, because we all have brainwaves, we all have perceptions, and they vary from person to person. It's just what we're tapping into. That's what it is. So anyway, I'll keep on reading. So each kind of elemental reflects a basic energy pattern of the fairy realm as it builds and manifests in nature. Like if you don't like the word fairies, you can change it to, say, extraterrestrial or something like that. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but it really is though, because really we are really all brainwaves, energy fields and matter. So all of that is interacting with each other all the time. So anyway, let's see. Yeah. Okay. The individual fairies and elves also have an affinity to one or more of the elements and are often found close to expression in nature. Water sprites, fairies, are found near waters, wood elves are found near woods, and so on. This means that energies of the elements are more easily used and expressed by those aligned with it, We need to learn to work with this level of angelic hierarchy just as much as we need to know and work with those we call fairies and elves. In many ways, the elementals are more crucial to our lives. We have all heard the phrase of being out of one's element. Without any one of them, we will have an imbalance at some level. So you feel like, I don't know, sometimes you can have conversations with people and it's like your words fall on deaf ears, people aren't understanding you, and it can be very challenging. And then other times you just seem to almost be able to anticipate what someone's going to say. And that's really an interplay with the energies and with the mind fields. The elementals charge and energize us. They provide the fuel we need to feel alive. They work with every aspect of our being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. In fact, we have elemental that is assigned to work with us at each of these levels. By being around us, these elementals have increased opportunity to develop personality and move higher within their hierarchy. Learning to work with them is a dynamic way of attuning to all the energies of nature and its effects upon us. It facilitates control over our energy systems on all levels, physical and otherwise. Like fairies and elves, elementals are also four-dimensional. They have nothing to obstruct their movements. Therefore, they move as easily through matter as we do air. They do require some contact with humans for their own evolution, which is interesting. Now, the thing about this book is that it's a theory to me, and it's something that I've actually witnessed in my own life. Some of the ideas are very familiar to me. Some of them are a little bit out of the box, but you just consider it, and then you just take for yourself what works, and what doesn't you just disregard. That's just generally the best path, I find. So anyway, there's other things. Okay, so overseeing their activities, a higher developed being of that element, traditionally called the king. The archangels oversee the activities of the king, and the kings oversee the activities of a group of elementals and nature spirits in turn. Everything is hierarchical in the evolutionary scheme. So we'll learn about gnomes. And gnomes, this is a generic title, and it should not be confused with our usual conception of gnomes depicted in books, at least not on the elemental level of the fairy kingdom. Their form and shape vary, but are earthy in nature. They cannot fly, and they cannot be burnt in fire. They grow old in much the same manner as humans. Various types of entities fall into this general category, each with his own level of consciousness. These beings work and maintain the physical structure of the earth. They help create colour in the world and our lives. They assist us in tying into the earth's energies and in understanding how to use those hidden forces. The gnomes are needed to build plants, flowers, and trees. It is their task to tint them, to make minerals and crystals, and maintain the earth so that we have a place to grow and evolve. They are beings of great craftsmanship. The gnomes guard the treasures of the earth, and when attuned to, will help humans to find treasure within the earth or parts of it. This can be anything from finding hidden treasure or the energy of crystal to finding the gold within one's life. They work with humans primarily through nature. They give each stone its own individuality, its own energy. They do this with every aspect of nature. Thus, every tree, rock, and flower has something to teach us. Now, the thing about nature is, I know that if you ever go out to the country, you can really hear, sometimes you can actually feel like there's magic whispering in the trees. It's just phenomenal, and tangible, the feel of elation or electricity, or just that awareness that there's something going on in the world outside of ourselves that is just phenomenal, and just really not within I don't know, it's not really asleep. It's really, there's stuff happening in the atmosphere, and the deities or whatever are communicating with each other. Now that's why I really love the land, and I really love nature, because